All drivers in the UK are going to be forced to have cameras on their feet recording their every movement, cameras that film the pedals to make sure you're not braking when you shouldn't be, or accelerating when you shouldn't be, or using the clutch when you shouldn't be. Mandatory, compulsory, forced on all drivers in all cars, cameras on your feet all the time. Is this true? Right? Because this is a really odd article and I'm going to talk you through it. This is from the Birmingham Mail last week, right? Written by James Roger, content editor, whose Twitter account doesn't exist and who didn't reply to my email. This is the headline: all drivers in the UK face mandatory pedal cameras which record foot movements. All right. I mean, that's as clickbaity as it gets. Okay. They're a newspaper. They're trying to make money from all the crappy adverts that are on the page. I'm a YouTuber. Same thing, but at least I do it a bit more honestly. Campaigners have called for the introduction of new mandatory safety cameras to be installed in every car, writes James Roger, content editor, whose Twitter account doesn't exist and doesn't reply to emails. James Roger, do you even exist? If you do, please check your email. There are calls for a new mandatory pedal camera to be introduced across the UK in a major rule shake-up and change. Campaigners have called for the introduction of new mandatory safety cameras to be installed in every car. Hold your questions, we're going to get into them. James Roger continues, experts have called for new pedal cameras impacting your acceleration, brakes and clutch. Specialists at car leasing firm XLCR want new pedal cameras which record motorists' feet movements at all times to move the UK in line with South Korea, writes James Roger, content editor, who, as I've said, his Twitter account doesn't exist and he doesn't reply to emails. Alex Woodcock, spokesperson for XLCR Leasing, said the cameras would deter drivers from acting recklessly and could prove to be a major safety boost. He explained the devastating event in Seoul is a clear example of why pedal cameras should be installed in vehicles, out of control vehicle. He added, it's a stark reminder of why we should have them installed here in the UK, as it can help deter drivers from acting recklessly on the road. Hundreds of thousands of road traffic accidents take place every year, and this needs to be reduced immediately. Alex from XLCR Leasing, a company that we'll get into in a minute, wants to put a camera in your car to film the movements of your feet. Alex added, we believe that it'll also greatly aid trials in determining responsibility for road accidents, as the evidence will be documented in black and white on camera. Are they not going to be colour cameras? Bit of a strange comment there, but again, we're going to get into it in a minute. The Career Herald reported that, according to the Korea Transportation Safety Authority, 766 accidents were blamed on SUA between 2010 and 2022. Sudden unintended acceleration. James Roger, who doesn't exist, and Alex, who works as a sales director for a leasing company, wants to install a camera by your feet because of something that's going on in Korea. It's an odd one, this. I appreciate it. Stay with me. Official investigations found none were caused by car defects. No, that none of the 766 accidents. Sudden unintended acceleration is when a car suddenly speeds by itself without the driver applying pressure to the accelerator. It could be caused by electronic or mechanical faults. Jaguar I-Pace. Just a guy that was trying to get out of debt and ended up getting himself in a lot of trouble. There wasn't actually anything wrong with the car. Oh, I've got a terrible cough. It's true. He got himself in so much trouble. That's why he went quiet. Anyway, South Korea has been divided over how to respond to the growing claims about the phenomenon. the phenomenon of sudden unintended acceleration. Last week, Lee Hyun-sung, a member of the ruling People Power Party, tabled a bill to require car manufacturers to install built-in pedal cameras. But Park Song-woo, the transport minister, objected to the move, proposing instead that individual customers fit their own devices. Right. That's the article. Thank you very much for staying with me through that one. So essentially what we have James Roger, who may or may not exist, who's the content editor for a really crap newspaper, using a leasing company who are based up north to promote something that's going on in South Korea to make it seem like these cameras are coming for us. I got some questions about how this article came around. So after that, I decided to send some emails and ask some questions as to why a Birmingham-based newspaper is promoting something that's coming from Korea to go in all of our cars. So I thought I'd email James Roger, who at this point I didn't know didn't exist. So I emailed him and I said, "Dear James, I'm just reading this article and I've got a couple of questions before I make a video about it. You write that there are calls for new mandatory pedal cameras and that campaigners have called for the introduction of safety cameras to be installed in every car. Who are the campaigners?" Because you then write, Alex Woodcock, spokesperson for XLCR, he says that he wants the cameras, but Alex Woodcock is a coloured underlined link, but it doesn't go anywhere. That link only goes back to the motoring section on your website. So who is Alex Woodcock? Well, I had to Google him to find out that he actually works in sales for a small Blackburn-based leasing company. I've got his number, so I'll give him a call and ask why he's in your article advocating for something that Korea wants to install on its people so that his customers would have zero interest in leasing cars from him. Lastly, where did this article come from? You didn't pick it out of thin air, so where did you find the information, or who or what organisation sent you a release about it? Hopefully you can appreciate why I find this whole thing pretty odd. Sincerely, with love, hugs and kisses from Geoff. Never got an email from James because I'm not completely sure he exists, but James Roger of the Birmingham Post very much would like to hear from you about how this article ended up being written by yourself. However, I did find Alex's email address and I found him on LinkedIn. So I contacted Alex, who is the person who is allegedly the only campaigner that James has found who wants pedal cameras installed in cars. Morning, Alex. I've sent this to James as well, who wrote the article. I found you mentioned in this mandatory cameras for pedals in cars article, and I have to say, I find the whole thing a bit odd. Looking at your LinkedIn profile, I guess you went to university around the same time I did. So I suspect I've got a few years on you because I was a bit late going to university. So I've got to ask myself, why does a chap in his 30s find his name in an article advocating for cameras that monitor foot and pedal movement in a car? What could Alex possibly have to gain by being mentioned in the prestigious rag that is the Birmingham Mail, with his name appearing next to something that South Korea want to do? I'm going to be making a video about this, and I just wanted your side on how on earth you came to be involved in this article. Would you say, Alex, that XCLR Leasing are campaigners for mandatory pedal cameras, as you are implied to be in the article? Is it the position of your leasing business that all vehicles must have cameras that monitor the driver's inputs? And if that's the case, what would the benefits be for you as the leasing company? Why would you need this from a business point of view? And would you not expect your customers to then go and lease from companies that don't want to spy on them all the time? What's the benefits for XLCR Leasing? I'd love to get your input on this, even if it's just, Geoff, they paid me £500 to mention it and they said that nothing would come of it. I'm really curious as to how James and yourself came together with South Korea to get this article over the line. Kind regards, lots of love, hugs and kisses from Geoff. Anyway, I didn't get a reply back from Alex either, but I did also chase him on LinkedIn, because you can do that on LinkedIn. You can stalk people. I think that's what people use it for. They just use it for stalking women. But anyway, I used it for stalking a man, and I contacted Alex and I said, can you check your email and let me know what's going on? And basically, from Alex's replies, I got, I'm away this week, how can I help? The article was done from my PR company, PR by Whitney. They just asked me to comment. It's basically increasing road safety and monitoring drivers' concentration, acceleration, etc. What would you like to know? We then exchanged a few messages, and it became clear to me that Alex didn't say any of the things that he was quoted as saying in the article. They were all written on his behalf, and he just basically said, yeah, fine, stick my name to that. And I don't think he read it, and I don't think he thought about the implications of the article. So, in the context of that, what we have is a crap Birmingham-based newspaper with a journalist that doesn't seem to exist, quoting people that don't know what they're saying on things that are allegedly going to impact every single car in the country. So we've got some really, really shoddy journalism being done by James Roger, if indeed he does exist. We've got Alex Woodcock from XLCR, who is quite simply not doing his due diligence on what articles he's being mentioned in, probably because he was trying to get away on holiday. And then we've got this Whitney PR company that Alex mentions, and I'd very much like to speak to PR by Whitney to find out where this came from. This information, right, that's the end of all the technical stuff. Thank you very much for staying with this video, because I appreciate it's a bit all over the place. But this article came from somewhere. Somehow, this we need cameras by our pedals and the information from Korea somehow found its way to the Birmingham newspaper, or it found its way to PR by Whitney. There's an agenda here that's going on, and I find the whole thing quite nefarious. But when people are putting their name to stuff that they don't understand, it all gets a little bit odd. So let's go back to the title then as we conclude this video. All drivers in the UK face mandatory pedal cameras which record foot movements. No, it's utter balls from top to finish. No one is asking for pedal cameras. And when they say campaigners have called for the introduction of mandatory safety cameras, they mean Alex. And Alex hasn't got a clue about any of this. So no, there are no campaigners wishing to install safety cameras in your car. It's just clickbait, but it's kind of scary clickbait because there's no smoke without fire. And apparently there's no James Roger either. So James, I look forward to hearing from you to see if you do exist. And just like Luke, remember we did that article about Luke, the other motoring journalist? Come on, just do some actual flipping journalism, will you? Unbelievable, isn't it? So no, we won't be installing pedal cameras in our cars because that article is just bumf. Thanks for watching.